Hey guys, our decline here, average picker. So we are going to attempt, I'm going to try to document my attempt at fixing Goldie, and hopefully we can get it fixed. This was by Pickaholic, and I totally mucked it up while doing reassembly. And if you go back and watch the video, you'll see what happened. So I did not have a follower that really fit the back of Goldie at all. So what I decided to do was, I took the back clip off, had the core slightly rotated, and I basically used the core as a follower and just plucked the pins out as I went using a shim inside, because I had to be pretty careful because Goldie has where the clip goes quite a gap there, big enough for a pin to fall into. And I think that's what happened. When I was putting it back together, I was doing pretty much the same thing. I was using the core as a follower, and I had a shim in there, and I slowly, without noticing, as I was nudging it along, I started accidentally working the shim and the core back to its neutral position. And I think what has happened, I think driver 4 has fallen in and caught the back tail piece. Pin 1, or driver 1, has a wafer on it because it was like a little T-pin or something, if I remember right. And it's dropped into chamber 3, I believe, and it's quite stuck. It's not moving. In fact, you can't get the key in at all past it. I've tried picking it, and the pin doesn't lift, and that's got me a little worried. So yeah, we're gonna try some creative shimming to get this thing fixed, and I'm gonna try to shim in from the front. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. If nothing else, the depth I can get the shim in may tell me a little bit more about what's going on. But I think the combination of having a driver on the back end of the tailpiece wedged in there, and at least 2 of these probably dropped into the wrong chambers, is what's causing the issue. So yeah, I'm just gonna document this little thing and see if we can't get it fixed. I'm not gonna make you sit through all my shimming though. We're gonna do some creative cutting, and I'll just give you the results of what ends up happening. All right, guys, wish me luck. Well, I was hoping this was gonna be a little more insightful, perhaps, than it is. Eagle-eyed viewers, you may notice the core is now rotated. That's a really good sign. I tried to get the shim in, and it just would not go past where the key was stuck. What I ended up doing was I ended up going in with the pick upside down and just working it and working it and working it. And something in the back started to come free. And as that started to come free, it enabled that driver 1 to start moving a little bit. And so I took the shim out because I noticed a little bit of movement on it, and it was almost feeling like the shim might have been caught in a compressed spring. Not sure on that, but I got it slid out, and when I slid it out, that freed it up enough that I managed to get one lifted. So yeah, I was hoping it was going to be, it was kind of random how it felt all happening. Not something I can sit here and lay down, precise steps in what occurred and how to undo this should this happen. But this is probably my worst gutting disaster on, or not gutting disaster, but assembly disaster or jammed up lock. And I do seem to have resolved it somewhat. We still have a few issues. I've got to run a shim in the back of it because at this point we just want to get it retracted or extracted completely. And see where we're at. And what I don't want is another pin dropping into that into the back of the core again. But it will rotate out at this point, it looks like. So yeah, Goldie may be back up and running. But it even though I don't have an exact instruction here on what I did, a lot of this stuff is repairable. You just get a little creative, a little persistence, stick with it, and there's a good chance you can get those locks fixed that you've maybe gotten locked up, or that may undoubtedly at some point it'll happen. So yeah, let's continue. Okay, so I don't have the complete tailpiece on, but I think you can see there, see that gap on that tailpiece? That's what one of the pins had fallen into. Was I think I've got a pick around here somewhere. There, sitting right in front of me. So yeah, one of the pins had happened to catch in that gap. And that wasn't terrible, because that part, once you've freed up the other pins, it was able to rotate around and free itself through one of those. And during reassembly, what I did this time was, even though it was a little more awkward, I left the key in, because remember, the key is going to hold all the pins flush to the shear line, which meant if I did end up doing the same thing and accidentally rotating the core back to neutral, or back to its locked position, those pins would all be at the shear line, and the drivers wouldn't be dropping into any chambers anyway. It was a lot more awkward doing it, or trying to do it with the key in, because you had to kind of hold it a little funny. But yeah, it worked. You can see Goldie is back in business, and I'm extracting very carefully there so I don't just pull the core out since I don't have the tailpiece on. Yeah, we're all good, back up and working. So all right, Pickaholic, I got that fixed. I don't know if there was anything to be gotten out of watching this. Yeah, I was kind of hoping it was going to be a little more step by step, as opposed to me just kind of randomly bumping through there with the pick upside down. I did it upside down because it was just so stuck. Everything in there felt like there was just no movement. You couldn't get the key in, even with a good bit of force. And I just thought, you know what, if I have to start applying a lot of force on the pick, I would rather be bending it back towards its potential original shape than the one that it was, or then into a straight line. So yeah, it's back in business. And there we go. We can get back to picking now, because this is off my mind. I hate it. Like, you get a lock and sitting around, and in my head I'm like, I've got to assemble that. I've got to do an assembly on that one. My own challenge locks, it's not that big of a deal. I'll let them sit here, but other people's, yeah, I've gotten myself in the habit. I've got to get it back together. So there it is. If any of you want to do a challenge lock exchange with me, hit me up in the comments, or send me an email to frequency13@gmail.com. Yeah, just get in touch with me somehow, and we can do a lock exchange if you want. So anyway, there we go, guys. Yeah, I don't know what this has been, but have a good one.